Call this special meeting of the Salem Housing Authority for November 18th to order. If the recorder would please call the roll.
Commissioner Tessler.
Present.
Commissioner Nanke.
Here.
Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner Dickey. Here. Commissioner Thomas is absent. Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Clem.
Here.
Commissioner Hine is absent. And Chair Bennett.
Here. Right. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Troop 87, Scoutmaster Mark Bechtel.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you very much.
Good job.
Commissioner Nanke, a motion on approval of the special meeting agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move approval of the special meeting agenda for the Salem Housing Authority on November 18th.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to address the Salem Housing Authority? I'll take the silence as a no. Okay. And Commissioner Nanke, the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move the consent calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Rhodes, do you have anything you want to highlight in this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to bring the attention to the commission on the business profile in the program management report, where we're updating the status of various projects, Parkway West, Robert Lindsay Tower, the current status of that as it relates to design status. There are green requirements, green building requirements that we have as a part of the funding, as well as ADA requirements as well, and the changes that we'll be making in the properties. So, thank you.
Great. Any questions?
I would just like to say it was a wonderful piece on the Family Self-Sufficiency Program graduate, and that's always wonderful to see people able to get out and get into their own home. So,
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to pass the consent agenda calendar? Say aye. Aye. Everyone's so polite this evening. We have no special orders of business, unfinished business, new business. Without objection, the Housing Authority is adjourned. I'll call to order this special meeting of the Salem City Council for November 18th. If the recorder would please call the roll.
Councilor Bennett.
Here.
Councilor Tessler.
Present.
Councilor Nanke. Here. Councilor Clausen. Here. Councilor Dickey. Here. Councilor Thomas is absent. Councilor Bernard.
Here.
Councilor Clem.
Here.
And Mayor Peterson is absent.
Right. Councilor Nanke, approval of the agenda.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move approval of the special meeting agenda for Salem City Council, November 18, 2013.
Second.
Second by Bernards. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And Councilor Nanke.
Yes, I would move additions and deletions to the agenda, as well as a reorder of the agenda, moving item 7A to 2B.
2A.
Public comment would be 2A in and of itself, I
Okay.
think, so 2B would be the...
All righty. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. All righty. Any council or city manager comment? Counselor Dickey.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to share that we had a van stolen a few weeks ago, and I wanted to, first of all, just thank our police department for all of the hard work that they did. We did get it back. They're still working on the case. I'm not quite sure if they've caught the person who've done it, but they're still working on it. So kudos to our police department for all of their work on that. And I just wanted to make a comment, having gone through this experience, something that I've learned that I will never take for granted again. One of the things we learned when it was stolen was that most stolen vehicles just end up on somebody's neighborhood, parked on the street somewhere. And how many times do you see those in your neighborhood and you don't call it in because you think, oh, my neighbor has company or whatever, I don't want to rat out my neighbor, but in reality that could be someone's stolen car. So just thought I'd put that little plug out there. If something doesn't look right, as the police say, call it in and they'll make that determination. So it could be someone's only form of transportation. But anyway, kudos to the police department for all of their hard work on that.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Tessler.
Thank you. The mayor asked me to attend the Diwali celebration that was put on by Indus, and it was just fantastic. The food was wonderful. The dancing was sublime. There were lots and lots and lots of people there. Everybody dressed in their sort of Diwali best, which is Diwali is the New Year for the Hindus and the Sikhs and the Jains. So it's kind of symbolizes the turning over the old and the new, and that kind of thing. Good fortune throughout the year. It was just a really great time, and Indus was really kind to me and my family. We got a really good table there, and it was great. I had a really good time, and it was really fun to see a diverse thing. So anyway.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. Mayor, I would like to, Acting Mayor, I would like to report on a couple things with downtown parking. I won't be doing this every week, but you asked me to give periodic updates. So I wanted to let you know and the public to know on November 15th, we sent a second letter out to Salem businesses asking them for our driver's license numbers for themselves and members of their staff so that we can more easily enforce the ordinance that does not allow employees, jurors, volunteers to be parking on city streets. So that went out with the form for reporting attached. We have already received this information from some businesses, but this is a second notice. As of the end of this week, so since October 15th, we've written, our staff has written 107 citations for employees parking on the street, 149 30-minute violations, and 474 other downtown violations. So they're working very hard on, very diligently, to ensure that the ordinance is hopefully successful and is enforced.
Councilor Nanki.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. So each one of those tickets, then, those people had a warning as well?
The first,
So they're repeat offenders?
87 so far have first offenses, which is a warning and the information about where the parking district is, how to get a permit, where they can park, and 20 were second offenses.
And what's the fine for that?
$100.
Pay for a lot of parking?
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Any other comments? Great. Okay, thank you. Want to invite down Salem Kaiser's School Superintendent Sandy Husk. We have a proclamation. I know the mayor is very disappointed she wasn't able to be here this evening. This was really important to her. She is not feeling up to snuff, or she would be here. I also, before I read the proclamation, I wanted to recognize school board members Rick Kimball, Chuck Lee, and Nancy McMorris Addis, as well as Superintendent Husk's husband, Charles Hanson. So if you all could just give us a Jim Green. Hi, Jim. Excellent. My boss is here too, so I'm really, I'll have to read very well. Well, this is really a personal pleasure, I think, as you know, to have the opportunity to read this proclamation. I've had the distinct pleasure professionally to work with the superintendent, and I'm very, very pleased with this. Whereas Sandy Husk has decided to leave Salem Kaiser School District after 7 years, and I'm not going to cry, but the mayor would, as superintendent of schools, the second largest district in the state of Oregon. And whereas Sandy Husk has been an exemplary leader for our schools in Salem and one of Oregon's leading public school educators, and whereas Sandy Husk successfully led school district improvement efforts that lowered the district dropout rate from 7.4% to 2.6% and took McKay High School from one of the highest dropout rates to the lowest in the state, and whereas Sandy Husk successfully completed the district's largest ever bond construction project on time and under budget by nearly $40 million, which can now be used for school repairs and keeping hundreds of local construction workers employed. And whereas Sandy Husk was a leader in state-level education reform, achievement compacts, and a focus on early learning, and whereas Sandy Husk continues to be a statewide and now national leader in the effort to shrink the achievement gap between minority and non-minority students, and whereas Sandy Husk has inspired the community to get excited about our schools and our young people and sets a personal example of hard work and positive attitude, now therefore I, Anna M. Peterson, Mayor of the City of Salem, Oregon, am pleased to proclaim the week of November 18th to November 25th, 2013 as Superintendent Sandy Husk Week in the City of Salem, and to further offer a grateful community's best wishes on her next role in education leadership. I call upon all residents to share their thanks and regards with Superintendent Husk. Dated this 18th day of November 2013, signed Anna M. Peterson, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this on? Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. A whole week? When I first met Charles, I convinced him that birthdays were worth a whole week. This might be worth a little more than that. No, I'm just teasing. I really want to thank this city and this city council for the support that you provide to families. Your leadership and what you care about in this community is a big part of why I wanted to come here and why Charles and I have been so happy living here. So thank you. This is quite an honor, and I really appreciate it. I'd also really like to thank, and I would like the board members to stand up who are here, because their leadership is what keeps this district strong. And they were very encouraging and supportive of bringing me here and making sure that they had their role clear so that the staff and the community could know how to interact in board meetings and how to help student achievement move forward. And I know their leadership will continue steady as they bring in the next leader and we go forward. But I particularly want to thank my team, and you all need to stand up. Thank you. They are behaving. This is a part of the, Jay, thank you. This is a part of the top leadership team in the district. Thank you all very much. And I could go through each one of these items, and say to you why it wasn't Sandy Husk that turned around the dropout rate or brought the bond in under budget and on time. It was the efforts of this team under the support of the community and under the leadership of this Board of Education. And I am deeply grateful to all of the hard work that you all do and have done for this community. And Craig and Sandy, thank you for being here this evening as well. Really great friends. When we first came here, and that is my husband, Charles Henson. Wave, Charles. We first came here, and it was a night similar to this. It wasn't November, but it was cold, and it was rainy, and he'd had quite a time with Paul Dukopoulos and Bob Mink, and had taken around the community and shown what a wonderful community this was. I had been on my feet interviewing all day and was ready to get in the car. And as he rolled down the window, he looked at me and said, "I really, really like it here." And I knew that this was going to be a great place for us to live, and it has been. So thank you very much.
Well, that was a distinct pleasure. Plus, these school people are so well behaved. Have you noticed how quiet it is? All right. We'll take just a moment and let folks leave. Okay. We'll move on then to public comment. And I have no one signed up. Is there anyone who would like to address the City Council at this point? All righty. Item 2A, the North Sandiam Watershed Council report. Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Thursday, I took the position of chair of the North Sandiam Watershed Council. If you don't know, I was head of the Pringle Creek Watershed Council up until the time I took on the city councilor position. It's been a long time since the council's been here to tell you what they're doing to protect the drinking water supply and general watershed up in the canyon. Last time we were here, Liz Redon was the coordinator. Our new coordinator, who's been with us just a couple of months now, is Rebecca McCown. So you'll be seeing materials come from her for the sake of time to present some other information in regards to some funds that the city had donated to the Watershed Council to do some protection services. Sarah Deerdahl is actually going to, we put together a report, and it was like, well, let's take this opportunity to bring it to the City Council and talk about how those funds were spent and the benefits that we received from that. So I'll turn it over to Sarah Deerdahl, and she'll run through some material and a couple of slides.
Thanks, Brad. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Should I state my name and address?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm Sarah Deerdahl. My address is 3115 Northeast Lancaster Street, Corvallis. So as Brad mentioned, I'm here today to talk to you guys a little bit about a generous donation that we've received for the last several years from the City of Salem to support watershed restoration efforts in the North Sandiam River. I'd like to thank all of you for your time tonight in allowing us to come here and tell you a little bit about the work that we do. I have been with the council since 2009, and I am their projects coordinator, so I coordinate on-the-ground implementation of restoration actions with private and public landowners. So just a little background about the North Sandiam River watershed. It's about 500,000 acres, which drains from the Cascade, Mount Jefferson, to the confluence at the Willamette River main stem. Watershed councils in the state of Oregon were recognized in the mid-1990s by Oregon state statute. In addition to that, to actually be recognized, you also needed a local county or other form of government to recognize you in order to be an official legitimate watershed council. The North Santiam was actually recognized in Lynn and Marion counties in 1998. We are a local, non-regulatory, non-governmental group designated by the state to address natural resource conditions in management of our watershed at the local level. To do this, we're composed of local stakeholders representing the diverse interests of our watershed. And Councilor Nanke is our new gracious chair. So to talk a little bit about why revegetation is important, and this gets to the funding that was supported by the city of Salem. This is a low-risk, relatively low-cost restoration tool in our toolbox. We do lots of different types of restoration, but revegetation, and what I mean by that is restoring riparian areas and floodplain habitats with native species is a known quantity. We know what the outcomes are, we know how to do it, and we can get it done efficiently and effectively. There are also a variety of benefits from doing this type of work. Specifically, we are looking at restoring fish habitat for ESA-listed salmonids, particularly spring Chinook salmon and winter steelhead. Both of those species are listed in the North Santiam, and the North Santiam is considered a salmon stronghold, so a high priority for restoration of these species. Our goal is to manage these populations at the local level to ultimately result in delisting of these species. This drives down costs for things like water treatment intake, because you're not dealing with regulators who have very specific compliance details that you have to follow. We also aim to protect drinking water source protection. Does everyone know that 100% of the city of Salem water comes from the North Santiam River?
Yep.
That's impressive. So that's another dual benefit. And recently we've also looked into and been contracted to do shade credit generation, and this is happening all up and down the Willamette River, where industry and municipalities are required to offset their TMDL discharge into the Willamette River. One of the mechanisms for doing this is to restore riparian buffers and generate shade credits. So the council can also act in this, this element for folks. This I pulled from your 2013 water quality report, and I apologize that it's a little hard to see, but this is the North Santiam watershed. This is where your water comes from. It just so happens that where your water treatment intake is just downstream of the two major fish passage barriers on the North Santiam main stem also happens to be where most of our projects are. And that's just by coincidence for project prioritization, which had really everything to do with ecological benefit. So I think that that's a really interesting point to bring up. So we're working in your neck of the woods. In addition to the City of Salem funding, how do we fund a large-scale re-veg program? You can't do it on $10,000. So what we do is we leverage funds. And this is the important part about why the North Santiam, or the City of Salem funding is so integral to our program, in that if we receive $10,000 in donation from the City of Salem, we're able to leverage an additional $40,000 in grant funds. And so that gives us capacity, funding to do a lot more work with a relatively small means from individual donors or funders. We also leverage farm bill programs like the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. We do fee-for-service work, as I mentioned, with the shade credit generation, and we also receive some support from local municipalities. A little bit about the capacity of our program to do this type of work. It's really ramped up in the last several years as this has become a priority and we've realized how to do things more effectively and efficiently. We now contract grow all of our native plants, and this is 2 years in advance with the local native plant nurseries where we're ordering plant material in advance. This is not something that we were doing several years ago. We also coordinate a cold storage facility to store our plant material throughout the planting season. Rather than relying solely on volunteer crews and work parties, we actually hire professional revegetation contractors who become our site stewards, again, paying money back into the local economy as well. Our sites are stewarded for at least 5 years or until they're free to grow, and free to grow is really just when the plants are able to compete with invasives and other things on their own. So we can kind of walk away without the investment being lost. We also do a significant portion of monitoring to show that we're achieving our goals, which is really important. We look for things like physical habitat changes, but we also look for things, water quality triggers, temperature, shade, other water quality parameters in our monitoring. So a little bit about what we've done to date so far. So when we really ramped up was 2011 with the program that I mentioned earlier. And at that time, we only had 5 sites and 23 total acres. And then in 2012, we added an additional 3 sites and an additional 7 acres. So what you see on this table is that the sites are cumulative and the acres are cumulative. And that is because as we add on sites in a new planting year, we're actually carrying those existing planting sites forward and stewarding them still. And so in 2014, which is this coming year, we'll have 17 sites at just under 64 acres of riparian and floodplain vegetation. And that comes down to just under 150,000 plants that have been put in the ground so far. So this is just upstream of the Guerin Island intake facility and treatment facility. The North Santiam River can be seen in the bottom of this image, and then Stout Creek, which is a major high priority tributary for us to work on for habitat restoration, which is a 303D listed stream for water quality. The temperatures are too high, and it's also listed for a couple of other parameters. We've managed in the last few years to work with 8 landowners on restoring 29 acres of riparian habitat. So in the image, it's an aerial image, and the coral-colored polygons are tracts that are currently in restoration. So we're trying to connect that and bring the temperatures down and create habitat throughout that system as it's discharging into the North Santiam main stem. So in closing, I just want to thank you all for maybe an unknown contribution to our work, but perhaps now you know about it. You know, building these communities and working with these private landowners on addressing natural resource problems and finding solutions at the local level is really a rewarding experience. And with funds, generous contributions like the ones that were made by the City of Salem, we're able to do that. And we wouldn't be able to do it without those types of generous donations. So we do have an office. The North Santiam Watershed Council office is in Staten. We have a website, which we have more information on, and public monthly meetings the second Thursday of every month. So I encourage anyone who's interested to contact staff, view our website, view the publication that we brought tonight, and with that, I'll take questions.
Are there any questions? Yes, Councilor Clem.
Thank you, Sarah, for a good presentation. Just at the very basic level, improving the watershed acreage to revegetate it, how does that affect us when we drink the water or we don't have enough water? How does the revegetation effort, investments that we're making, help ensure that I have clean water and plenty of it?
Sure, that's a really good question. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a really kind of basic ecological process in that plants and functioning ecosystems, wetlands, and floodplains are the natural filter of pollutants. They're able to mitigate water that's otherwise poor in quality. So the natural systems actually, and you'll see that a lot in current designs of water treatment facilities in which they mimic natural systems like wetland treatment options. So natural systems function really well to create and clean drinking water and surface water. And so that's our goal, is to not only create habitat, but to create natural systems in which the water is cleaner leaving than when it entered.
Thank you.
Councillor Tesler.
Not a question, just a comment. I'm lucky I get to work with Sarah in all 3 of her watershed areas, which is pretty cool and fabulous. But the North Santiam Watershed Council, I cannot speak more highly of. The way that they support themselves is to write grants. And they are excellent, excellent grant writers. They are highly regarded at OWEB, which is a major funder. When I do projects with them, and they work with us on properties that we acquire. We just acquired a quite large piece on the North Santiam, 388 acres. I knew that that project was going to come together because they were a partner with us. So to have them be a partner with the city is really a good thing for us, because they are going out and doing restoration in the proper way, which is the whole stream section at once and not just the little shotgun. You know, they concentrate in one area and they work the whole stream. And that's the way to get to the results that we want. And the North Santiam River is a very special river. It was one of the rivers that wasn't dredged or altered too much over time. And so there's still a good floodplain and the processes are still there. Of course, we have an impassable barrier, 2 of them, but time will pass. So, but it's a great river, and I really enjoy working up there, and I'm really happy that they're a partner with the city. And I might add that the fish screen at Guerin Island, if anybody has not seen this fish screen, it was a very, very expensive fish screen. It was over $3 million, and is one of the only fish screens that passes juvenile salmonids. So this is if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. It's quite remarkable, and it's a very good thing for the watershed, and the city was very responsible in doing that.
Any other comments? Councillor Nate.
I would just like to, I'd pass these out to everyone at their location. There's also a card with Rebecca's name on the backside and the website if you're interested in grabbing more information. And I would actually be remiss if I didn't thank another individual in the chambers here with us tonight who was instrumental in actually seeing the North Santiam Watershed Council come to fruition in its early days, and that would be Mike Gotterbach, who at that time was an industry representative, along with Tina Schweikert, who was with our Public Works Department. And it took a lot to get that going, and we're all the better for it. So, Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Sarah. Wonderful.
Great. Thank you very much. I hope we can have, I see the manager, I see the Public Works Director, that we can have more reports on this whole effort in the future. This was really interesting. And helpful.
I thank Councilor Nanke for
Yes.
having the idea.
Thank you.
It had been a while.
Councilor Nanke, the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move the consent calendar with the following pull, 3.2B by Councilor Tesler.
Second by Clem. Any discussion? Councilor Dickey.
Yes, I will be recusing myself on 3.3H.
3.3H.
H.
Okay. All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, we are now to public hearings. Okay, we'll reopen the public hearing on subdivision modification 05-19A for the purpose of disclosure of ex parte contacts.
That's pretty much what I was going to say, but
Oh,
I'll
is
add,
it? Oh,
I'll add a little bit to it. The City Council will now reopen the hearing regarding review of the Planning Administrator's decision for subdivision modification 0519A. The purpose of the reopened hearing is to allow the disclosure of ex parte contacts and provide the public the opportunity to address the substance of the contacts. Testimony shall be limited to rebuttal of the substance of the ex parte contacts, and no other testimony will be accepted.
Thank you. Councilor Bernards.
Thank you, Councilor Bennett. Or actually, was it Mayor Pro Tem Bennett? I would like to move to adopt staff's recommendation.
Second. Second by Clem. Any discussion? Councilor Bernards.
Is it this point that I should? Okay, thank you. So I want to read a small statement that I've written. On October 17th, a few days after the council voted on the application, I attended the Sunny Slope Neighborhood Association monthly meeting. At the meeting, I spoke with Evan White, land use chair for the Neighborhood Association. The nature of our conversation was that the council had conditionally approved staff recommendation based on part illegal advice contained in a confidential memo concerning a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision from the city attorney to the council. I did not discuss the contents of the memo and did not provide the memo to Mr. White or anyone else. I told Mr. White that if he wanted more information concerning the issue, he should contact the Salem City Attorney. My contact with Mr. White did not change my opinion, and no new information was gained.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Nanki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were several emails that were rolling around at that same time. I think a couple of people opened and started to read them. I don't know if anybody read them all the way through. I would just like to say that I opened no emails and read no information in regards to the decision.
I'd like to say if I did, I can't remember a moment of it happening, so whether I opened it, read it, or thought about it, so. Anybody else want to disclose either a memory lapse or ex parte contact? Okay. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, gosh. Anyone, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, and the applicant is first crack at testimony.
Okay. You waive? Okay. Then Cynthia Williamson.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. Do you need my...
Oh, yes, please.
My name is Cynthia Williamson. My address is 2080 Davis Road South.
Thank you.
Okay. I own the property immediately to the east of the proposed development. I've lived there since 1989. I care a lot about the quantity and the quality of the water on my property and the subject property. I have a well that for 25 years consistently provided us with water, and I am concerned that the quantity of the flow...
If I may, I apologize. I'm going to have to stop you for just a moment for instructions from the city attorney on your testimony.
Okay.
Ma'am, if you would, the testimony must be related to the ex parte contact. You cannot testify just to general information about the property. If you have any rebuttal of the contact that Councilor Bednarz just disclosed, that you need to limit your testimony to that.
Okay, so I'm not to talk about the water and the water quality that was in the information that I received.
Just in regard to his communication with one of the neighborhood people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very, and I really apologize, it's a very limited public hearing devoted completely to the comments from Councilor Bernards regarding the contact he had with Mr. White regarding this Supreme Court decision. And
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Kathleen Naus.
I'm in the same situation as
Are
Ms.
you?
Williamson.
Again, this gets a little arcane, and we apologize. It's just as a matter of land use law, it has to follow this action. It really was completed except for this contact needed to be disclosed, and this was to give you a chance if you wanted to comment on that. Nope? Okay. Thank you. I have no one else signed up. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this in this public hearing? Okay.
Do we we need to ask the applicant's representative if they want to
Rebut.
No,
rebut?
He's waiving.
Okay.
Again. Okay.
So questions of staff?
Questions of staff? Okay. No questions. Public hearing is closed. Now we want a motion. Okay. Now we'll vote on the motion. Do you want to restate your motion real quickly?
Let's see here. I move to readopt this council's decision made, do I have this right? Made on October 28th meeting to affirm the planning administration's decision to approve the application with the addition of condition 9.
Second.
Just to clarify, the council's original motion included condition 9, so you're not varying council's previously adopted decision.
Correct. Nothing's different.
Okay, second by Clem. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Just to further clarify, this is still an ex parte proceeding, and the order that you'll be asked to adopt will be on your agenda on December 2nd, so in the interim, please avoid ex parte contacts.
2 weeks.
Thank you. Okay, our second public hearing. Recorder, do you want to introduce this?
The City Council will now hold a public hearing to receive testimony regarding ordinance bill number 3213 relating to historic preservation and procedures for land use applications and legislative land use proposals, amending SRC 230.005, 300.100, and 300.620, allowing council review of major historic design review decisions for new construction.
We have a staff presentation.
Good evening, Acting Mayor Bennett and councilors. I'm Jason Richling, planner with the Community Development Department, and I'm filling in tonight for Kimberly Fitzgerald, our historic planner, who was unable to join us this evening due to illness. Tonight we're having a public hearing to consider the amendment to our code to add new sections to allow the council to initiate review of new construction within historic districts. And at this time, I'd like to enter the staff report, its attachments, in addition to a letter received today from the West Salem Neighborhood Association indicating support for the proposal, into the case record. On August 12th, 2013, the council held a public hearing on proposed amendments to Salem Revised Code Chapter 230, which relates to public historic districts. And at the time, council identified an issue relating to existing council review procedures for major historic design review of new historic construction. Council raised concerns about not being able to initiate review of major projects, such as the redevelopment of the North Campus at the Oregon State Hospital. Given the concerns raised, and in an effort to respond to the issue in an expeditious manner, staff is bringing this specific code amendment forward at this time. On October 3rd, a notice was mailed to the Department of Land Conservation and Development regarding this in a procedural measure to give them notice of the code amendment. The council initiated first reading on October 14th. On October 29th, we mailed notice to all the interested parties. And this was also posted in the Statesman Journal on November 8th of this year. Currently, the Historic Landmarks Commission reviews all new construction with an appeal to the hearings officer. The council can only initiate review of historic demolition procedures. All other historic design review decisions are appealed to the hearings officer. This proposed amendment would allow council to initiate review of major historic design review applications for new construction, and also adds a definition for new construction. So in this case, the new construction is identified as a new building or a structure constructed within a historic district or on a property that is designated as a local historic resource. This definition does not include construction of accessory structures, alterations, additions, or additions to existing historic resources. The proposed amendments are consistent with and implement the comprehensive plan by clarifying the definition of new construction within historic districts and allowing council review of those applications. The new construction within historic districts may have a significant impact on the historic properties and the historic districts, and it's appropriate the council be able to review these decisions. In conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council advance the ordinance bill to second reading for enactment. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Nobody. And I have no public signed up. Is there anyone who would like to comment on this proposal? Okay, any questions for staff? It's very complete, apparently. Very good. Thank you. Councilor Nanki, give me a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move staff recommendation.
Second.
Second by Clausen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes. We'll move now to special orders of business. And we have item 3.2B. Councilor Tesler.
Thank you. This is a pretty short comment on this item.
Could you give us a motion on this?
Oh, I'm sorry, staff recommendation.
Second.
Second by Nanki. Okay. Discussion, Councilor Tesler.
Anyway, basically my discussion is this. I had some email exchange with staff just because I had some very specific questions about the culvert placement and some other things that are happening on Wallen Creek, and I also talked to Councilor Clausen about this as well. But, you know, for many, many years, I think the thinking on urban streams was channelize, bury, fit through a culvert, make it flow under a parking lot, pave it, destroy it, throw soil sterilizer in it, put a railroad next to it. And so effectively, a lot of our urban streams became destroyed over time. They became sterile. They became viewed as stormwater conveyances and nuisances for flooding. And I think that Wallen Creek is going to experience something that doesn't happen too much, which is sort of a rebirth. And due to some visionary thinking by buying property and giving the stream some room to do what a stream needs to do, which is flood and put sinuosity back in the stream. I'm very excited about the possible acquisition of more property to correct the 90-degree angle. Most streams don't have a 90-degree angle in them. And I really like the box culvert with the open culvert on the bottom, which allows for natural substrate and better flow. The vegetation is coming along nicely. I really, really have to commend Public Works. We've come a long way. And I think we have more to go, but I think bit by bit, this is the kind of stuff that needs to happen. And the best thing about this is that the people that are getting flooded out are gonna see some relief. And they're gonna see some relief that's not gonna be this hugely expensive flood project. It's gonna be just the acquisition of property and letting a stream do what it's supposed to do. And this is great. I'm really proud of the city. And I'm proud of the engineers. Sometimes it's hard for engineers to get out of that hard structure mentality, and Jim Bonnet was more than happy to climb aboard the natural restoration train, and so kudos. I appreciate that, and we as citizens should appreciate that too. And I'm sure the citizens over there off Marstone Court are going to appreciate that, because Wallen Creek flooded severely last time. So just wanted to kind of give some kudos. And this is the right way to think about streams. This is the right way to do it. So I appreciate that.
Councilor Clausen.
Thank you to Councilor Tesler. That's exactly the issue. Since I've been on council for 3 years now, Marstone Court has been underwater 2 times. And this is a big deal that I appreciate Public Works for getting in there and getting this done. Also, this is part of a bigger picture, and there's a study that we've approved as part of our budget process to look at the entirety of the Battle Creek watershed and look at it as a system, because when the low-lying lands in the Battle Creek watershed around the Battle Creek Park and such were developed, none of this was thought about, and we've got houses just backed right up to our streams, and as Councilor Tesler was saying, they're just backhoe ditches, just going straight and then turning and then straight and turning 90 degrees. So we got a lot of work to do out there. Protection of property is my #1 goal with this, and this is the type of thing we need to do, and we need that study to protect the existing properties that are there. So, and then also that study allows those properties be protected, and then we can utilize the rest of our urban growth boundary for development and for getting things done in a proper way. So anyway, this is a good step in the right direction, and this is the first project of many, I believe, as we move forward.
Thank you. I want to comment as well, because this doesn't confine itself out to Battle Creek Golf Course. This affects all the way down the system, into Mill Creek and into my ward. So I want to just take a moment, too, to thank Councilor Tessler, for the leadership you showed on this issue. You're the first person. The first time I heard about the idea of meandering Wong Creek, which is one of the activities, was you talking about it. And I know walking the site with you and members of the Public Works staff, the tremendous amount of leadership you supplied on this issue early on, and then having Councilor Clausen, previously Councilor Sullivan, join you in this effort has been just a real, plus the rest of the council, but I particularly wanted to call out your leadership role in this and your knowledge in this kind of activity, so thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else want to comment? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We have no unfinished business. We have information reports. Did anyone have any questions, comments on those? Okay. And we're to first readings of, oops, sorry.
We were going to have staff comment on the...
That's right. Thank you.
And Ms. Montoya will be making a short presentation.
And this is on the investment portfolio, about the money, so great.
We talked about it last year.
We did talk about it.
Good evening, council members. Sandra Montoya, Assistant Finance Director. At your request at the Finance Committee meeting this afternoon, you asked that I just give you a quick overview on the city's investment for the quarter ended September 30th of 2013. Really, we just wanted to say thank you and to touch base. We adopted or updated our investment policy on May 28th of 2013, and because of that update, we've been able to take advantage of a good position in the market. No one could have predicted that, 5 years after the 2008 freeze of the markets, that we would still be experiencing lags in our investments, and that we would, be having a difficult time seeing anything above 1%. But that is the case. That's the environment that we live in. But again, in May, we updated our investment policy, and I wanted to just briefly walk you through what that has done for our investment portfolio. So, councilors, this is in color at the request of this afternoon's meeting. It's in color so that you could see. But before our update in May, we were only investing out to the 2 to 3 year range. So our limit and maturity for investments was out to the 3rd year. And then with that investment update, we are now able to go out to the 5 year. And I'm going to point your attention to graph 3, and graph 3 shows you that the real investment, the widening, where the investment opportunities are at, is out in the 3 to 5 year range. So because of that change, just one simple change that we've made that was within Oregon revised statute, we are now able to invest out in that 3 to 5 year range, and that is what we're actively doing. I want to give you peace of mind that we are safely investing our dollars to make sure we have adequate funding for our daily activity, but beyond what we need for our daily activity, we are investing out, and PFM, who is our investment advisors, are actively trading investments for us to make sure that we meet our needs but are in the best position to take advantage of that 3 to 5 year range. So we're going to see, just to summarize the beginning of the quarter, we had 157 million in investments. We ended the quarter at 198 million, no losses, primarily due to the 43 million that we sold in streets and bridges bonds. That was the last of the series that we issued in debt. So just so that you know, over the next couple of months, we'll have property tax revenue coming in, which will beef up this investment portfolio, but at the same time, we're still finishing up the streets and bridges project. So we're going to have some ins and outs, which is just normal activity. Did want to show you, this is just the distribution and the quality of our investment portfolio. Our requirements are high quality investments, so we continue to do all of that. We meet all of the compliance requirements, and that is something that we measure on a monthly basis. So again, just giving you that assurance that our money is being protected. This table shows you also where our investments are at in a maturity horizon. You can see we've got 63% of our portfolio is under 6 months, again, because those are our operating needs. But any excess funds that we have, like what we'll be receiving in property tax revenue, we'll start to invest out. And you can see we've just begun investing in that 2 to 3 year range, 3 to 4 year, and we haven't yet invested anything in that 4 to 5 year range. At the end of your portfolio report, you'll see the investments that we have, so the actual breakdown. So feel free to take a look, and if you have any questions, we're always available to answer, and we can provide you a monthly report as well. Our policy does require quarterly reports, so at a minimum, you'll see this on a quarterly basis, but we do have it more frequently for you if that's what you'd like. And with that, I'm available.
Thank you.
for
Any questions? If you were to really simplify this, okay, what does it mean in terms of the return on our money compared to, say, passbook interest or some other, whatever you were doing before? I mean, what does it do?
No familiarity with passbook
Okay,
interest.
pick
so
one. Whatever we were doing before.
So before, we were very heavily into treasuries and agencies. And if I show you, let's go back to that first graph, you can see, I guess it's blue, the blue line. And we were investing short, so what we would call under a year. So you can see there's almost no real gain in that under 1 year for the agencies, but the risk was minimal because it was federally backed. So we were very safe, but we also had very minimal earnings that we had available. And we also don't have the sophistication, the tools, the technology to actively trade the way that PFM, that's something that they bring to the table as our investment advisors. So now they can look out at the horizon and down to minutes be able to time what the very best investment purchase is, what's going to yield the highest return. So by way of comparison, you're wanting a number, and I don't know that I can pull one out just
That's okay.
From my head.
Yeah.
But it was just, risk-wise, there wasn't really a whole lot of risk in our portfolio, and because there was very little risk, there was also very little return.
Okay.
I guess in a nutshell, that's probably how you can take it. They've added incremental risk, but quite a bit more return. That's the benefit of having an investment advisor.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Any other? Okay. Ordinances.
Ordinance Bill Number 2413, relating to establishing new Salem Revised Code, Chapter 703, wireless communications facilities, adding SRC 143A 075, 143B 065, 143E 055, 144 045, 145 045, 146 045, 147 045, 148 195, 148 345, 149 045, 150 045, 151 045, 152, 045, 153, 045, 154, 045, 155, 045, 156, 045, 157, 045, 158, 045, 159, 045, 160.125, 161, 162.045 and 162.065, amending SRC 111, 020, 040, 060, 070, 130, 140, 240, 130, 210, 132, 220, 133, 100, 133, 110, 135, 020, 136, 020, 137, 020, 138, 020, 139, 040, 142, 020, 143, 020, 143A, 020, 060, 080, 200, 143B, 030, 070, 090, 120, 150, 143C, 060, 143D, 020, 070, 100, 120, 180, 190, 230, 250, 143E, 060, 144, 050, 145, 030, 050, 900, 146, 030, 050, 900, 147, 030, 050, 900, 148, 170, 200, 210, 300, 350, 360, 450, 149, 030, 50, 90, or sorry, 900, 150, 030, 050, 900, 151, 030, 040, 050, 900, 152, 030, excuse me, 152, 030, 040, 050, 900, 153, 030, 040, 050, 900, 154, 030, 040, 050, 090, 900, 155, 030, 040, 050, 900, 156, 030, 035, 50, 900, 157, 030, 040, 050, 900, 158, 030, 040, 050, 900, 159, 030, 040, 050, 900, 160, 020, 100, 900, 161, 060, 170, 162, 050, 120, 130, 215, 055, 220, 005, 300, 100, 520, I'm sorry, 520, 532, 015, 020, 025, and 040. Repealing SRC 116, 130, 118, 340, 119, 460, 143B, 050, 144, 030, 144, 035, 146, 035, 147, 035, 148, 180, 148, 330, 149, 035, 150, 035, 151, 035, 152, 035, 153, 035, 154, 035, 155, 035, 156, 032, 157, 035, 158, 035, 159, 035, 160, 110, 160, 120, 161, 040, and 162, 060.
Great, thank you. Councilor Ninky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that City Council set a public hearing on ordinance bill number 2413 and the balance of the staff recommendation, including the wonderful list of sections.
Second.
Second by Menards. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. No. Motion passes. We have no second readings. Do you have any public comment? Mr. Sturbo.
Yes.
Sorry. Good evening, acting mayor and council and city managers and staff. My name's Ron Sturba. I live at 520th Street Northeast in Salem. If you haven't seen it, last Friday, the Statesman Journal, it's about LED lighting. If you do a search on Statesman for LED lighting, it'll come up with this article. What I'm here to complain about is the small footprint that the LED lighting is putting out compared to the large footprint of lighting that was taken away with the conversion to LED lighting within the city. Now, changing this from old technology to new technology, if I were to do this at home, changing my furnace out to electric from gas, I'd have to get a permit to do it. And that permit be $80.32 based upon 2,000 light fixtures in the city of Salem. I figure PGE owes Salem $160,640. And the city of Salem, if I were to change my furnace out, would recommend that I would bring it up to code. The city of Salem has an excellent development code for street lighting, and it is a street lamp for new developments every 150 feet. When this new light went in, my street's about 900 feet long, there's 2 lights on the street. Tiny little spot. Took the photographer from the Statesman Journal and I 45 minutes to come up with a picture that we could actually take. If I were to say it in another analogy, let's just say the phone company says, we're going to give you dial tone for 19 days of the month, that's it. Or if a city employee came up and said, Mr. Sturba, guess what? We're not going to give you filtered water, treated water anymore. We're going to give you well water, and you're going to get 47 gallons a month. By the way, 47 is the number of the wattage of the lamps used. I just discovered today that the lamp in front of my house at a 4-way intersection is a lamp that is should be used on a straight street. So what that means is that I've got light going this way, but I don't have light going this way. And they've done it in almost every intersection in my neighborhood. And I can't imagine a fireman going through the neighborhood looking for a water hydrant or a policeman in that dark environment. There are options, and I'd like to discuss it. I dropped a letter off at the governor's office today, Brian Klim's office, Peter Courtney's office, and Vicki Berger's office. We need to stop this program that PGE has on wholesale light fixtures and get this engineered correctly and make sure that the communities in the state of Oregon get the right thing for their neighborhood for safe lighting. I invite you to go to my neighborhood and take a look, 17th, 18th off of Court Street.
Thank you
Please do
very
that.
much, Mr. Sturba. Is there any questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fernandez, what's going on here? Can you explain what's going on with the lights?
Sure, Councilor. If you just go, you can go to Mr. Sturba's neighborhood, or you can just walk out onto Liberty Street. PGE is starting their long-promised transition from high-pressure sodium bulbs to light-emitting diodes. And it is something that they studied for a number of years before selecting the lamps. They are lamps that are in use in a number of places in the United States. Seattle, Los Angeles are using the same lamps. It is a white light. It is a more directed light. The high-pressure sodium bulb spreads light out significantly more. So what Mr. Sturba is describing is correct. It's a more directed downward light. The benefits to the city of Salem are significant with respect to cost. PGE is moving ahead with their relamping. Salem Electric will be moving ahead with their relamping, and that's what we have. I mean, Mr. Sturba has expressed his opinion here twice now that he doesn't like the LED bulb, and it is different, but that is the only complaint we have received. There are many other compliments or just simply no opinions. So that's what we have.
Councilor Clausen.
Does our city code have anything to do with foot candles or lighting levels at any given point on the street?
No.
Okay, it's just, as Mr. Sturba mentioned, 150 feet.
Yeah, we have a standard for pole placement based on the lumens provided by the lamps. I mean, that's based on the lumens provided by the lamps. With the new LED, then we will see what the footprint is and then make a determination whether we want to reassess that standard. I will tell you that what we have heard in years past is that we perhaps have too much light in some subdivisions. So, we try to find the right balance. But this relamping and the choice of lamp is really driven by the electric company who's responsible for putting in those bulbs. And as I said before, those bulbs are installed, and they're being installed after many, many years of research and development and picking what they feel is the right bulb, and it's a bulb that's being used throughout the country.
Councilor Clem?
Thank you, Councilor Bennett. Peter, are these street lamps, city pays for street lights, so as the conversion occurs, does it help save us money, save electricity?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
To go to LED?
Oh, yeah, it's significant savings. We would anticipate, we pay on a tariff, so we would anticipate that as changes occur and there's significant savings in electric bills, that we would see the tariff proposed to the PUC would start to go down for streetlights.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Bernards?
I have a comment and then a question. I'm in the process of relamping some of my office buildings, and one of the things that I went to is to the Oregon Department of Energy, spoke with one of their experts, and one of his explanation to me was that the relamp with LED should be 50 to 60% of the original wattage that was in that lamp, so that you can get the equivalent amount of lumens out of the whole thing. But basically, about half, maybe a little bit more, a drop in the wattage. My comment was in reference to the electrical permits. Why is PGE not required to have permits on that?
Sure, PGE is a franchise utility, so they operate on a franchise. We have a contract with them, and that's one of the things that they are allowed to do is to relamp their lights. So we get, we haven't gotten a specific permit per relamping, which is really just a cherry picker, and the lamp goes out and a new lamp goes in, but the city gets a monthly check from PGE based on a percentage of their revenues. So, and that's the deal that we have with them and with every other franchise utility that operates in our right-of-way.
So at this point, we are not, the city, if I remember correctly, is not putting in relamping our lamps at this point.
On December 9th, you will have the opportunity to decide whether we're going to relamp our lights or not.
My point was whether this is a shakedown for what we will be facing.
It is not. PGE and Salem Electric have been very straightforward with us. In fact, we have been encouraging PGE for a number of years to get going on the relamping for LED because we can see the benefit. PGE was not ready to relamp because they didn't feel that there was a lamp out there that would last the amount of time necessary to make it worthwhile for the cost of relamping.
Well, I applaud the project myself. I'm doing it myself. I believe in it. I see the results in my bill that's going down. Thank you.
Just share, Mr. Serba is my constituent. He's describing my neighborhood, and I haven't had this change on my street, but I do wonder if there will be some evaluation that deals with the kind of quality of sort of light coverage that Mr. Sturba is describing. It tends to have the feeling of being very localized.
Right.
And not having that kind of, it sounds like kind of a noir movie out in Northeast Salem right now. You've got just this bright light and you can't see anything else going on outside of that pool, that very shallow and narrow pool of light. And I hope you'll take a look at that to explore the questions he's asking about its coverage for an area and whether or not it provides the same level of both information for drivers in a neighborhood or walkers trying to find an address or emergency vehicles, and whether it provides the same kind of light that we would expect in our neighborhoods to provide the safety that street lighting really does provide, and that I think we all count on.
Yes, yes, and empirically, they've relamped the street lights on my street. I walk home at night. It is a different light. It is a white light, not a yellow light, and it is downward directed, and it's not as spread out. So it is a different light. So we can, as we get more of them, then we can make some decisions. But we've had a lot of people over the years. Mr. Sturba shared with the council last time he was here the darkskies.org website. So this light is not bouncing light all over the place. It is directing it downward, which is, in some respects a positive for many reasons. But empirically, I agree with him that it is a more narrowly focused and more straight down quality.
And you don't feel in any way that your personal security as a walker in the dark heading up High Street is compromised?
I live in the city of Salem, so I
you're
feel
on your
perfectly
own,
safe at all times.
Yeah, it's the mean streets of Salem. Yeah. Okay. Warren?
Thank you. One other comment that I learned in that day, think back 100 years ago, we had gas lamps on the street. A very nice, somebody would come back out every night and light those lamps, and they would burn, and they put out a subtle lamp. And in fact, now we put out lamps that mimic, although they have a light bulb in it instead of natural gas. And then we moved on to things like mercury vapor, whose light output went down a very white light, but whose lumens went down precipitously as it aged. Then we went on to, metal halide. High energy consumer, but it's a very white light. And I remember that. And then we moved to the high pressure sodium, which is that pink light. Each time we've had one of these changes, people haven't liked, for some reason or another, haven't liked what has gone on. Eventually, that technology and that color gets adopted. It's not all that bad. Now we have LED, and it is a very concentrated light. It can have a diffuser in front of it, so that to help diffuse it, but then you start talking about light pollution. My comment is give it time. Give it time in the sense that all these different light forms have produced over the years, and we sooner or later come to accept it as being, this is okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else want to address the council? I have no one else signed up. Mr. Bassett.
Good. Council President and council members, my name is Scott Bassett, and I live in Ward 4. Jim Shepke and I ask that you please schedule a public hearing on the new bridge plan developed by the Regional Oversight Team, which is mistakenly still called the Salem Alternative. City leadership has disclosed that no public hearing is planned until much later when the land use actions are under consideration, but Salem residents deserve to be heard before a preferred alternative is approved. How can you call the new bridge plan the Salem Alternative, given that it closes the Rosemont exit and provides no replacement as you improved in June? Let's consider how a freight truck or police officer would get to West Salem Safeway under the Salem Alternative approved by this council and compare it to the regional government plan. What is the route for a freight truck? Under the council-approved Salem Alternative, semi-trucks coming from I-5 to Safeway could take the current Rosemont exit, which you thought might move a couple of blocks to Eola. The truck driver, as do many West Salem commuters, would simply exit 22 within 2 blocks of the store. Under the newest proposal, there is no exit at Rosemont or Eola, so a truck driver has 2 bad choices for how to get to the store, and both of them involve Wallace Road. You either take the proposed Pine Street Bridge and travel a mile south on the Wallace Road corridor, or you get in a line with other bridge traffic to take the Wallace Road exit and add congestion to what would be the only West Salem interchange. You are considering spending $350 to $400 million on a new bridge that increases traffic on an already very congested Wallace Road. Wallace Road is a major reason for the traffic delays, and the bridge option that the regional government is proposing clearly makes things worse. The other example that I'd like to highlight is police response. If you have police leaving this building to go to the Safeway in West Salem, right now they travel at freeway speeds, get off at the Rosemont exit, they'd be there. Under the regional plan, they would have to weave across 3 lanes of traffic, take the first exit, and then deal with the interchange of Wallace Road and Edgewater, and then travel down a 2-lane road. So I just ask that you disclose and discuss the details of the bridge proposal, and that you hold a public hearing on it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bassett? Thank you. Mr. Fernandez, what's our plan here?
Well, as you know, Councilor, the council provided comment back to the draft EIS on what was proposed to be alternative 4D. We used the the nickname, the Salem Alternative, as a moniker for a series of comments that the council provided to the oversight team. Last summer, the oversight team sent the Salem Alternative to the EIS consultants for review and for traffic analysis, as we knew they would. There are some minor changes, including what Mr. Bassett describes, some issues related to what we're going to do with the Rosemont interchange. The oversight team, in one of its policy statements the other day when they were reviewing the revised Salem Alternative, spoke to wanting to maintain the Rosemont interchange open. It is a difficult process to leave the off-ramp open. The on-ramp would remain open. We all understand that this is a long process, and that the idea of moving the interchange either to Eola or to College or to Kingwood or to Dokes Ferry is a separate process, lest we then reopen the EIS and spend another 2 or 3 years doing it, which, as you know, Mr. Bassett has been concerned about how long it's taken to get through the EIS process. What the council was told was that there will be a public hearing. The public hearing will come when the EIS is finalized and the transportation system plan has to be amended. So we expect that that will be back no earlier than this summer as they complete the EIS process. There is no request at this point for additional comment unless the council wants to provide additional commentary to the oversight team. My comment to you is that is what has been put before the oversight team is essentially what the council has commented on. I think you will be happy that a lot of the key elements of your policy statements, keeping things on the ground, minimizing the street improvements, are all as you proposed. The traffic works. So I think the oversight team is ready to move ahead, and you will, and the community will get another chance at this issue when the TSP amendments are brought forward sometime later next year.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Fernandez? Mr. Shepke, you look like you're in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Council President, members of the council. My name is Jim Shepke. I reside in Ward 2. I couldn't disagree more with Mr. Fernandez that the alternative that was presented to the oversight team on October 31st is a new alternative. It's the 10th alternative. There are 8 build alternatives in the draft environmental impact statement. The Salem City Council spent 4 work sessions and 2 public hearings to develop a 9th alternative. This is a new alternative. I brought a copy of the presentation with me from October 31st. I hope you all look at it very carefully. It was called Salem Alternative Findings, but it is not about the Salem alternative. This is a new alternative. Rosemont is closed. In the Salem alternative, Rosemont exit moves to Eola. In this alternative, we close Rosemont, and that's it. The Highway 22 has this brand new span that runs right along the riverbank. In fact, there will be piers in the riverbank. The trees along the river will come out, and you will drive right along the bank in this new alternative. Have a look. Mr. Fernandez promised that there'd be no dislocation of residential property in the Salem alternative. In the new alternative, up to 45 residences will be displaced. And that's in the presentation on October 31st. Have a look. In this picture, you can actually see that the new River Valley subdivision will be trashed. About a dozen residences will have to be bulldozed in order to build this new oversight team alternative. In the Salem alternative, the bridge is a single span. In this new alternative, as you can see here, it's 2 spans. Up to 6 lanes can be can be made on these two new spans in this new alternative. Don't tell me it's the same alternative. Your Salem alternative was supposed to have refined bridgeheads. Does that look like a refined bridgehead in the Highland neighborhood to you? It's not. You are being asked before February, this again is from the presentation, to select the preferred alternative. That's what it says right there. It is not the Salem alternative that's on the table. It's a brand new alternative. If you don't have a public hearing and if you don't take action, then you won't have spoken about this new alternative, and you will do a disservice to the citizens of Salem. We need a public hearing, and you need to deliberate on this new alternative. The public needs to be informed about what this new alternative is. Do people in West Salem know that the Rosemont exit is going to be closed? I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, time's up. Okay, any questions? Thank you very much. And I see no further business before the council. We will adjourn. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. Okay, the mayor has appointed a group of folks, and I'll give you a quick rundown. The mayor has appointed to the Airport Advisory Commission, Mary Ann LeBold, to the Human Rights and Relations Advisory Commission, Tamsin Jameson, Benny Yaus, Deborah Marianov, and to the Social Service Advisory Board, Sarah Owens. Okay? There are no counselor items. We are adjourned, and we'll have a executive session.